Hey everyone, my name is Ellie, and I'm gonna get through to a whole lot of other videos later on this week. But what I thought I'd do is I would get this one out of the way because two reasons. One is that this is film is just out, and people are probably still umming and ahhing on whether or not to go see it, and it's still fresh in my mind of what happens. So we'll get onto it now. So, over the weekend, I saw the Warcraft film, and this is an interesting film because you're going to get a whole lot of what appears to be different opinions on it. Very, very polar opinions. So, this film to me, the reason I went and saw this film was that I'd listened to the review from Jesse Cox, who is a big Warcraft fan. Um, and his comments on it kind of convinced me to go see it. So I will link his review in the description below, but definitely recommend go check it out and see if he does. If I don't convince you, maybe he will make up your mind on whether or not you want to go see it. Um, the other is that I also brushed up on a little bit of the Warcraft lore before seeing it, so I kind of had a better understanding and a better idea of what was going on in the film, and a lot of what may appear to be plot holes in the story weren't actually plot holes to me. So I'm going to try and do this without spoil. I won't do any spoilers. I'll avoid them as much as possible. But so I also went and saw this with a friend who is a bit of a Warcraft fan, and I asked him at the end of it what his thoughts were. And his thoughts were his biggest criticism was that it was essentially 10 decades worth of lore condensed down into the span of a week. So there's a lot of things that people like. Supposed to be like a whole lot of trust dynamics and a lot more character interaction that are supposed to span over about 5 years, uh, or 10 years. So these people, they had to condense a lot of these sort of like, oh, we got to trust you now within the space of about 5 minutes, because let's face it, you've got 5 minutes, you've got 2 hours to tell your story, and this is my biggest issue with film these days is they try and tell a big story in the span of about 2 hours, which you can't do. You can't really do that. So this I basically I've got an idea of what's going on, and there are a lot of reviews out there that are sort of being really, really negative on this. Don't look at Metacritic. Don't. I'm always going to say don't look at Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what those scores are in there, and I do not like scores. Scores are bad. I'm actually, yeah, scoring a film or a video game or a book is just stupid. It is. It's really, really pathetic and petty. Um, so I went to this. I actually brushed up on a bit of the Warcraft lore before going seeing it. Again, I will link below one of the guys that does some of it. That I was went and just listened to some of what he was saying, so I got an idea of what was going on. Um, but essentially, I was actually relatively impressed with the story. It's a pretty decent story for what you're getting. Um, and as I said, a lot of the plot holes that may appear, like why is Garona half human, half orc? If you know the lore already, you'll understand why that has been left out. And I think that is going to be a critical thing that people are not going to be happy with. Um, so, so I understand. I know why Garona is half human, half orc. There's a few other little bits and pieces here and there. Why are some orcs green, some orcs flesh coloured? That actually does get explained in the film, and you really do understand it sort of more towards the end of the film or about halfway through. There's about another millennia of a lore that's missing, like why is Gul'dan doing what he's doing, etc., etc. One of the big comments I'm going to say is I think one of the key characters that people are going to jump to because they think, oh yeah, this guy's the main character, is Lothar. I would actually argue he is not a character you want to put a lot of attention on. He plays a role, but I don't. I think his role is going to be more important in maybe the sequel, and this is probably where you're starting into that Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3 territory. By the way, this film is setting up for what looks to be like a sequel, possibly a trilogy. I almost get the feeling like we might actually see Warcraft 3 come out in the storyline. By the way, I would actually like to see Blizzard reproduce Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, or remaster them. It would be great, especially now this film's out and it's just going to pull a lot more people back to these games. The other big character you probably are going to feel like you need to pay attention to is Medivh. And again, Medivh, he plays a part, but I don't think his role is so crucial until the end. Um, that's I think where he sort of comes into the story, is right at the end. Before that, he's sort of he comes and goes. He's a little bit whatever. But the three characters. There's also Gul'dan. Gul'dan is probably another prominent character you need to have a little bit of attention to. But again, his role is sort of. To me, it strikes me that his role is more on the background as well. Um, the three key characters I think that are worth paying attention to, and again, this is probably because I do have a little bit of an understanding of what goes on in the lore already. The three characters you want to pay attention to are Garona, the half human, half orc. She's actually a very, very like her character is very, very out there. You need to. Her role in the story plays a huge part, and the focus on her is when they do focus on her, it's well worth picking up on. The Duratan plays a very key role, and again, Duratan is that figure that I think you've got to focus on him. You need to understand what's going through his mind because it's going to play a huge role towards the end of the film. Duratan, unlike to me, Duratan's character builds up through the entire story, whereas Medivh's sort of dropped in at the right at the end. Like all of Medivh just dropped in at the end there, whereas yeah, Duratan his builds up through the entire story. And the third character I think it's worth paying attention to is the wizard Khedgar. And to me, Khedgar played a more important role than Medivh or any of the others because there was just something about him. Like he was in most of the major scenes regarding the humans. You could see that there was something there to drive his character almost, to put it lightly, bluntly, whatever. So, I mean, the story feels rushed. It ducks and darts all over the place, and look, that's the consequence of having a film. You're writing a story that's got to fit within 2 hours versus, say, writing a story that's got to fit 24 1 hour episodes or 40 hours of video gameplay or into a 300 page novel. Small but you get the idea. So I think that's the key thing to take away from that. My friend who is a fan, he actually said that there were a few things in the film that were explained that were not explained in the actual lore. Like, why is Duratan fighting with Gul'dan, considering he almost went to war with Gul'dan? That is actually well explained with Gul'dan saving Duratan's son. Um, so this is, yeah, we're trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, but I mean, for a video game film, this is definitely pretty decent, and that's not saying a lot because let's face it, our comparisons are pretty much Tomb Raider, Doom, Super Mario Bros. Or Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Let's face it, we don't have very many good video games movies. So, I mean, from what I've heard, this is actually more or less stuck to the true story of uh, Warcraft, or the beginning of Warcraft. It's stuck as much as possible to the actual lore. So, as I said, it's to understand the story, you do need to probably go and check out some of the lore already to understand why certain parts have been left out. Because later on, I think they are going to click when they reveal them in, say, the sequel or whatever. Moving aside from the story and looking at some of the other stuff about the film, I mean, the CGI in the film, look, eventually it's going to look outdated, but in the current stance, I think it looks pretty good. Um, the best example I have of comparison at the moment is just judging from the trailer, the latest Ghostbusters film, which, to be honest, like the CGI in that looks absolutely awful. It's too shiny. Yes, this has a bit of a sheen to it. The Warcraft has a bit of sheen, but it's more thematic, and even so, it feels blended into the background. It feels blended into the scene. It doesn't sort of look separate. Um, and the only thing that sort of really sparkle, shiny Twilight vampire business is the magic. I mean, there's a few characters with glowy eyes, like the Blood Elves and the Archmagus. Um, those, they're a little bit there, but they're not sort of in your face. The other is that the orcs and the animals and everything look apart. Look great. They actually look really good. In fact, they look like Blizzard, the standard Blizzard cinematic stuff. The other is the you look around and the orcs all look unique, and that's really cool. As the orcs look fantastically unique, and they don't. Each individual orc looks different to each other, and I think that's taken a lot of work to do. Um, the other is that I think the sets look amazing as well. Like they've only got a few sets there, but that in itself is, I guess, a good thing. Uh, like I'm looking at these, and it looks like they're polished up. They're well done. These are sets that don't look like they're going to age in several years down the track. This is, take in comparison, say, some of the horror movies, or Star Wars characters they don't look polished now. I mean, they still look good for their time, but they don't look polished compared to today's. And these are sets that I think are going to stand the test of time. This, I'm kind of. This is a film that I think, if you are a fan of Warcraft, you're going to probably enjoy it. If you're not a fan of Warcraft, then you probably won't. And if you don't go out and check out some of the lore, you're going to struggle to get that, understand what's going on. And I think that's the key thing. That's the big thing you need to remember, is that a lot of the plot holes are there because they're going to be explained later along down the track. Um, yeah, I think that's about all I can say on the film. Um, I mean, look, if I haven't made convinced your mind of whether or not it's worth you going to see, go check out Jesse Cox talking about it. He's I think he actually makes some really good comments. If you're a Hearthstone player, yeah, you can go in and you'll probably pick up on some of the characters here and there. That's essentially what Hearthstone is. It's the Warcraft heroes all scattered throughout um, throughout it. Um, I think that's all I can say. It's a relatively good film. It's not horrible. I mean, this is essentially the first film I've seen in a while at the cinema, so that's saying a lot there, that I've actually taken the time out to go to the cinema to watch this film. Yeah, I think check out what Jesse has to say. Uh, go around YouTube and listen to what a few people have to say, rather than going based on what these professional critics have to say, because I don't think they actually understand the film, or they don't understand it as well as, say, the fans. Um, the other is and if you are going to go see it, I really recommend. As I said, I'll link him below. This guy, Noble, I think it is. I'll link him in below. Go check out what his stuff regarding the law, because it will help you understand a lot of the storyline. Uh, that's me done. I'll get to some other videos soon. I'm gonna try and spend this week doing it. I just wanted to get this one out because it was fresh in my mind and it's pertinent now. So, cheers, guys. Like, dislike, subscribe, whatever. Don't care. Catch you later.